All right, Eric and Dave, you ready to do this? All right.
Certainly are.
Oh, everyone, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. You are all over the world joining us, which is super exciting. Over 106 have signed up, and we really, really appreciate that. What a great show of people we have from literally all over the world, from Europe to Asia to Canada and the United States. So we really, really thank you so much for joining. And welcome to the December edition of GRASP's 2021 webinar series. Our topic today is 2022 and beyond, our vision and predictions for where travel is going. And it's definitely going. It's going up for sure, and we're super excited about that. This is our final webinar of the year, as you know, and what better way to ring in the new year than with two very well-known industry leaders and key leaders here at GRASP. Erik Mueller founded GRASP 26 years ago, our president and CEO, and Dave Lukas, our chief revenue officer. I am Rick George. I'm Senior Vice President of our Enterprise Division. Super happy to have been asked by my friends and colleagues to monitor today. And so just a couple of housekeeping items before we begin. All of you are on mute during the webinar, and you'll be unmuted during the question and answer segment after our chat with Eric and Dave today. However, if you'd like to get your questions in early, please feel free, and you can type them in the question box, which you should see on your screen. The webinar is also being recorded, and we are more than happy to provide the recording to you and to your closest friends if you would like after the webinar. So please just let us know. So let us begin. We're going to have a series of questions, some to Eric, some to Dave, some to both. We have a little bit of fun baked in, not that this isn't fun, because this is fun, but a little bit off topic fun for the guys, and then we'll open up for questions and answers. So Eric and Dave, question for both of you. Maybe we could start with Eric. Boy, it's been an interesting 16 months, hasn't it? 16 months. And question starting with Eric, what is the biggest aha moment? Just one aha moment during these many months that we've been involved in COVID?
The biggest thing for me is just change. I love change. I hate it when things stay the same, and the travel industry never disappoints. So the big aha for me is just, there's been a lot of change, and I think it's been for the good. I mean, a lot of bad things have happened, and we've all struggled, but I think we always come out of these things stronger. So the big thing is I've seen a lot of improvements in the industry, and we'll probably talk about that a little bit later.
And Dave, how about for you? What's the biggest aha moment?
Well, let's see. The more things change, the more they stay the same in some ways. The thing that I really took away from, gosh, the last 16 months is how important it is to play the long game. When everything essentially just stopped over a weekend, we didn't panic. We knew that, at least internally at GRASP, we knew it'd be a great opportunity to work on improvement internally in our product roadmap. We also knew it'd be important to take care of our clients and be there for them as best as we could. And so for us to do that, while focusing on our growth, keeping all of our teams, right? That was a really important thing for us. And it seems that we have a shock like this, to the travel ecosystem like every 10 years or so, but the industry always bounces back stronger than it was before. So, playing that long game, focusing on readying your business for that turnaround and reaping the benefits of it. I think that's the biggest aha, is how much that's proven, I think, to me over the last 16 months.
Well, you guys are absolutely right. There's been challenges for sure, and challenges with some companies, but there's certainly been a lot of new ideas born during this time, new companies that have developed during this time. So it really is cyclical. It seems. You look at every issue that's happened from SARS to 9/11 to this. There's good that comes out of the challenge for sure. Next question is for Erik, and all three of us actually were at the GBTA convention a few weeks ago, a great convention, and one of the key topics, Erik, as you know, was sustainability. and questions around sustainability, and certainly an increase, it seems, in companies taking sustainability even deeper into their programs. So the question is, in our world of travel data, what does sustainability mean to you and the overall reporting around sustainability?
Well, in talking with a lot of major corporations at GBTA, they seemed extremely serious about the initiatives that they have going on and their need for this type of data. Air data is fairly readily accessible. Hotel is going to continue to be a challenge. That's what I was hearing from a lot of people. Another thing that I've heard, and it kind of goes to how important this is that it sounds like a lot of senior leadership is going to be, their comp is going to be tied to sustainability and improving their organization's performance. So I like seeing that it's actually going to have some teeth behind it, and the international community is going to be basically measuring and watching and scoring. So I think we may see some significant improvements. So.
I totally agree. Sat in on a lot of sustainability sessions, and it was certainly one of the key topics. Another one of the key topics is, as you know, Dave, was around the evolving role of the TMC, of the travel management companies, and challenges that have come to many for a variety of different reasons during the time frame that we've been talking about. But there's also been some great opportunities that have come to TMCs, and so. The question is, how do you see the TMC's role now and also into the future?
Well, how much time do we have on this webinar?
As long as
there's a lot of ways you can, go with that question. I'll kind of just focus on more of a narrow lane, but, the TMC can and should play a much bigger role with their clients. And what I mean by that is they're really in a great position to be a holistic provider of services, but have to think outside the travel management piece of it, if you will. TMCs should be data aggregators for their clients. They have one big piece of the data, but they don't have all of it. And they typically cannot see the whole picture, right? They don't see everything that's expensed or done on credit card or booked as independent bookings, all of that, but you have the ability to. They can work with data partners like us or the others that do this in this space, bring all that data together into one place where they can see the true picture, of a corporate travel program and better help their clients. In fact, a lot of people probably saw, back in November, end of October, we did an announcement where we partnered with Traxo, right? And this was the reason that we did that. We partnered and integrated Traxo because the thing that I love about Traxo is they can give us that open booking, that outside booking information real time. You don't get it 30 or 60 days later on an expense report because at that point you can't do that much with it, right? It's spent, you got that information, but you can't proactively do duty of care or help manage somebody in transit. And so that was an important thing for us for the future, right? To be able to have that capability for the clients because it's going to be that much more important. And the other side of it is the average corporate client has 49% hotel leakage and almost 10% air leakage. That's from our data that we ran stats over 4 years on. I was shocked by that, So there's a lot of things happening outside of the TMC that they could actually be capturing and seeing. Now, that doesn't mean that they have to change that behavior if it's working, but it does mean that they know about it, right? And those are opportunities to make sure clients are maximizing, their program spend or savings. More importantly, duty of care, right? Ensuring that and being in that position to help when something goes wrong. Can't do that from data from an expense report 60 days later, right? So there's TMCs that are doing this now, and they should, and more should do that, right? And so kind of to what I said before, play the long game, and as a TMC, set yourself up for better success by really becoming a data aggregator in addition to the travel services that you provide.
Well said, well said. And not to jump ahead of myself as part of the team, but I think there's some interesting things coming down the road for TMCs, but we'll leave it at that and let Dave and Pauline and Gary talk about that when they're ready. So stay tuned. It's some good stuff.
Stay tuned to this webinar. Maybe we'll get to it.
All right. Erik, I've been with Grasp 10 years. My anniversary is in just a few weeks, and 26 years with you and Dave. It's 17 years, 18 years, I think. And it's been quite a ride, I am sure, Erik and Dave, through these 26 years. And as I touched on when I opened, Grasp is just been incredible in my opinion, because you survived SARS, you survived 9/11. We're doing well through COVID, but there's certainly been a lot of challenge, and there's a lot of challenge still in the travel industry. But we've gotten through it, and both of you are great leaders in the company, and really helped us as employees stay positive and stay productive. So the question, Erik, is what can you say to business owners, business leaders, travel managers, folks in procurement that are listening today about managing through periods of uncertainty, not only managing the business, but also allaying employees' concerns, keeping them involved when everybody was remote. What can you say?
The two biggest things that I think that we've gotten right over the year is managing cash flow and managing hiring. That's the secret to the long game, as Dave said, is, in managing growth, I guess there'd be the three things. So we've always really focused on watching our cash flow and managing our cash flow very tightly, and making sure that there was always cash reserves. So when things do go sideways, we're not struggling or having to be reactive. We can be more proactive. But if you hire slow and you hire the right people, I think that everything else takes care of itself. And then managing growth, it's like there have been times when our growth would have outpaced maybe our cash flow, right? So it's really, how do you slow down when things are good? It seems counterproductive, but we've done that when things are really active. Sometimes we take a step back and we catch our breath and we say, hey, you know what, there is a lot of opportunity right now, but we're not going to go after it, and kind of go the other way. We're going to slow down. We're going to focus on process, focus on our people, and focus on our technology. And especially at times like this, things have been slow, so we just redirected our energies at something else. But having a great team, they relish that opportunity. They like the opportunity to get out of the day-to-day and focus on the things internally and focus on themselves. Employee growth is a big thing for us. So that's really it. And the thing is we've kept our whole team. A majority of our team's been with us more than 10 years. Almost all of them have at least 20 years in the industry. So they're not fazed by the ups and downs. They're like, oh, here we go again. It's just, we never know what the outcome's going to be, but we always know we're going to be on the other side of it. So we don't worry so much in the moment.
I think one of the greatest things too that you instilled early on was that, as Erik said, we're all industry veterans, but there were a lot of folks that were working in our San Diego office, in our Columbus, Ohio office, and then you had folks like me and Dave that were more or less remote. But then everybody went remote, right? Because nobody was going into an office space, nobody was traveling. And early on, Erik started put together an all-company call I think it was every week, right? It started as every week, Erik, and it was totally optional. People could join if they wanted. Topics were open, and it was just a great hour to bring the entire company together. And now we're bi-weekly, twice a month doing it, but there's still tons of people that got on it, and it's a nice way to check in and make sure everybody's doing good. So I think, at least from my perspective, as an employee, that was a great thing that you did, and super positive.
Yeah, it started with, we've always done I did the 1 minute thing for years, 1 minute once a week, just a recap of everything that was going on. And then when COVID hit, we expanded it 1 hour to keep everybody connected. And yeah, a lot of times it was just talking about Tiger King or what someone was growing in their garden, and it helped keep people connected. So honestly, I think now that we're pretty much 100% virtual, I think people feel even more connected than even before. In the office, sometimes they didn't take the time to pause and socialize with each other. So yeah, it's been great.
And there were two distinct camps on the Tiger King issue. I remember that, and there probably still is.
It's still going, I think.
It is still going, for sure. So Dave, question to you, Dave, with the volatility, let's say in our industry, private equity and infusion of growth, mergers, acquisitions, certainly been a part of these last year and a half, let's say. Do you believe this is positive or negative in our space, and why? Again, it's a broad question, but there's been a lot of agency acquisitions. Sadly, some agencies are not with us anymore. But I think the positive side is that there has been cash that's been infused from a variety of different points into the industry. And I know you do a lot of investing outside of Grasp, and wanted to get your take on that.
But I mean, you kind of said it. It can be either, depending on how it's used, right? Throwing in any business or any industry, throwing good money after a bad opportunity or creating high valuations for unproven solutions doesn't usually work out. Conversely, investing in well-run companies that have experienced management teams, proven business models that can sustain cash flow, that's a great opportunity. And, I think that's one of the reasons that we do see private equity coming in, because those things do exist here. And to some point, as an investor, you always, hear buy low, sell high, right? So, if an industry's, beaten up some, it's a great time to look at getting in on a ground floor and riding that wave up, right? So, you see, I think you're seeing some of that because now we are starting to ride that wave up, and, these guys are smart and see some opportunity in that. So, those opportunities that are in this industry that kind of like I described, proven business models, great cash flow, good management teams, that sort of thing, they're a great place to invest, not just in this industry, but really any.
Well said. Erik, a topic that has been around for a few years now. I remember you and I and Dave talking about it even 3 years ago, but it still continues to grow in our technology space, is around automation and machine learning, AI, depending on what one may want to call it, continues to be key buzzwords in our industry. And many seem to want this technology or feel that they need to have it. But what does it really mean? I mean, what are the benefits in your mind to a TMC or to an enterprise, a corporate account? So 2 questions. What do you see as a key benefit? And if you dial forward, because this is part of our webinar today, into the future, where do you see AI, let's say in 2 to 3 years from where we're at today?
Yeah, I mean, people have been talking about it for a long time, and it hasn't really materialized. Everyone says that they have it. A lot of times when they say AI, they're really talking about machine learning, or they're just talking about traditional programming methodologies. So, but I am seeing, and I talk to other technologies in our space and outside our space all the time, and talk about best practices. And it is, it's finally becoming more of a reality. We're definitely seeing it through. Really the benefit is through automation, and with the compression that's occurred in the industry, a lot of these things have come forward, and there's new players in the marketplace that are actually using true, AI, which it incorporates with machine learning to basically look at the data, to take action on that data and do things that maybe a human being might have had to do before. You would just throw, and we've been victim of this at times too, is instead of automation, you just throw headcount at something, but the thing is, there hasn't been a lot of cash flow, in our industry the past year, to put it lightly. So, people have had to reduce headcount, and they've had to focus on technology. And again, that's been part of what's helped us to weather the storm as well as we have, is the fact that people have turned to us to look for ways of automating their processes and procedures. They want to learn more about how to implement these types of practices into their business. So, I'm seeing that in the new entrances into the place, these new, online travel agencies and software platforms are using a lot of this technology to, basically the low level work, taking care of those kinds of things and stuff. Our competitors, I speak with them, and they've implemented some really cool technology to do things that might have been manual before or were kind of old school programming. They're now replacing with things that can learn, evolve, grow, get better. The more data they have, the more times it does things, and require less even programmers to get involved and write new algorithms. That actually writes its own changes in a sense. So I think it's really exciting. We're going to see more of that, and I think we're all going to be a lot leaner as we go into the future. And it's really that, and the thing that I love about it is the human touch. More people, more headcount's going to be towards that customer service aspect, and less in that rudimentary day-to-day, processing refunds, exchanges, things of that sort. Shopping, you're going to see it in all kinds of things. Even the initial responses and managing workflows for support is going to be more automated to produce a quicker result for the end consumers. So I think it's all positive.
And I think we saw that at convention this year in the expo in the innovation, technology innovation area. Some really cool companies, some neat looking AI, and some new companies that have, like we've been talking about, came to life in the last 12 to 15 months. So that was really nice to see.
Yeah.
So we're going to change gears for just a couple of minutes, and this segment is get to know Erik and Dave a little bit better. And so what I'm going to ask, guys, is in 2 words, respond
Seriously, 2 words?
I know, Dave. I'm just saying.
Dave can't do 2 words. I got $5.
I have to think. All right, go ahead.
No, just a couple of things to get to know you guys a little bit better. So first, French fries or onion rings? Erik?
Onion rings.
Fries.
Mr. Lucas? There you
Fries.
go. Working remotely?
Not new.
Normal.
NDC?
Struggling.
We'll see.
Okay. Cleveland Browns or Jacksonville Jaguars? Erik?
Whatever.
Both frustrating. Both frustrating.
There you go. Beach or mountains?
Well, today mountains, tomorrow beach.
That's more than 2 words.
You're in Seattle, right?
Seattle today and Jacksonville tomorrow.
There you go. How about you, Dave?
2 weeks, because I can do both in 2 weeks.
Very good. And final question, favorite holiday tradition? Dave?
I can't do this in 2 words because it's fun to explain. So, random life-size elf cutout strategically placed to drive my father insane because he hates Will Ferrell. We have one that's like 6'2" that gets strategically placed around the house and stuff during the holidays to drive him nuts. So
that's awesome. Yeah, for me, Festival of Lights. It seems like wherever we live, there's always something. In San Diego, they have a boat parade. Jacksonville does the same thing. So it's a kind of boat parade. So we'll fill up some thermoses with hot cocoa and watch the parade of lights on boats. That's always fun.
Yeah, that's cool. That's cool. And it happens not only in I think in Florida, but through the Northeast, Nantucket, and up in that area. So it's really neat holiday tradition. I think we do it in the summers too with the regattas and everything. So thanks, guys. That was fun. And Dave, so let's go back to kind of a question that, from a sales perspective, is super important. We're seeing companies right now that are either completing their 2022 budgets and getting approval for new technology or whatever the case might be, or they will be doing that in the next 30 days or 35 days. But we're also seeing companies that are taking kind of a wait and see attitude toward adopting new technology, moving in certain directions, either because of market uncertainty, what's going on with the new iteration of COVID. What do you say to that? What do you say to the wait and see?
Well, it's not an easy answer. Every company is different. Their processes for making decisions and spending money are different. And seems changing. It's even changing, by the day or the month in some cases for companies, right? And for many, the process is the process. There's not much you can do about it. So, look, I get it. In business, we want some resemblance of certainty to plan and budget the future. We do in GRASP, right? We're trying to plan and budget for the future too, and trying to figure out what we can count on, what we can't. And right now that's a little harder when we have these periods of uncertainty that kind of intermittently, happen. And so what I will say is that things are going to get busier. And they're going to require more effort from the travel department from where we are at now, right? So not less. So that makes it a great time to implement solutions, get them set up so that you're ready to go as travel increases further, right? The last thing most people want to do is implement new solutions when they're drinking from a fire hose because they're so busy. And so things are slower now. They aren't going to be in the future. And I wouldn't take my word for it. Look at every time we've had a crisis in the past and what happens in the ensuing years. It's always bounced back bigger. So, now's a great time to get yourself ready. So if you can do it, do it.
Yep, great advice. Great advice. Next question, Erik, is to you. As convention opened a couple of weeks ago, one of the early topics on the main stage was that certainly business travel is returning, as we know, and will continue to increase to levels of 2019 or so pre-COVID, by 2024. So essentially 3 years from now. Do you believe that's accurate?
I think it is. I'm a numbers guy, so and a lot of economists have crunched the numbers. They've looked at historical things. That's what the data says. So I'm going with that's most likely true. Now, will it be? I just don't think that things are going to race back. What we're seeing right now in our numbers is every time that there's a surge or whatever, we see an immediate drop off. But the nice thing that I do see in these numbers is that the bounce back keeps getting quicker. After each little surge, as humans, we're getting used to this. So our recovery time is much shorter. And Dave, who works out insanely, knows that as he tries new ways of training and stuff like that, his recovery time can keep getting shorter and shorter. And it's the same for us. We're now used to a surge, and then we put in processes and things like that. So I think it's going to keep getting better. I don't think that we're going to return to prior levels. I think things will get stronger, but I think that the virtual thing is here to stay. We're all getting used to having virtual meetings and being effective with sustainability initiatives. Air travel is damaging to the environment. I mean, there's no way to avoid that reality. So, I think that for them to accomplish their goals, a reduction in capacity overall should be suppressed if they want to meet those sustainability goals. Offsets and things like that don't really impact it as much as just reducing the amount of carbon produced. So at least until we have some technology to suck it out of the air, which I'm sure we're going to have here soon. So yeah, I think things will continue to improve. I think that things will come back faster. They just won't return to the prior levels. I don't know if it will for a while, but I think that we'll find a new normal.
And so, Dave, over the past few years, we've started to pivot within Grasp to become more of, I think you coined the term a few years ago, more of a data plumber for the travel industry. And so for some on this call, that may be a completely new term in terms of what it means for them with our company. So my question to you is, what should that mean to the individuals that are listening to us in terms of where Grasp is going?
Well, I'd have to disagree a little bit. I wouldn't say that we pivoted. I think we've always been focused on the plumbing, because if you can't get the data right on the back end, it does you no good on the front end. You know, if your data is not good and you're trying to make decisions off it, doesn't do you any good. So I just think a lot of the industry's kind of finally caught up to the understanding of how important that piece of it is, right? Instead of the flashiness in the front end, it's, you know, the back end, right? And that's resulted in a lot of opportunity in business for us in different sectors, right? One thing that I think we have done, what this kind of means for people is really we're focused on creating products that take advantage of our capabilities around this area, around the data, right? To really help clients better run their business from the data and drive measurable ROI. And you kind of mentioned it earlier, I guess it's a good time to talk about it. You mentioned like for TMCs, like we're doing some things. So for example, if you're a TMC, you probably haven't heard this yet, because literally just this week, and marketing doesn't start marketing till next week, we released our new Grasp Hotel Revenue Optimization product, which we affectionately call Grasp Hopper. And you know, it's a solution designed to help TMCs capture more revenue, get paid faster commissions from their hotel bookings, because we have the data. We know which hotels pay most of the time, which ones pay commission the most, you know, and so we've got that data that shows that. So this was a great little solution to add into our arsenal, and it gives clients a full analytics dashboard with reporting on, you know, what's happening in real time, both agent detail, all that stuff. And, you know, we're doing and it doesn't cost a ton to do this stuff. So we're actually doing a special release on this thing with free setup and $150 a month. You know, thing literally pays for itself in just a couple commission checks. So, you know, I think products like Hopper are what you're going to see more of from Grasp, because we've perfected the plumbing at this point, and now it's just maximizing the possibilities of the data.
Yeah, well said. Great product. Certainly in the agency space, may even be applicable in the CTD space, and we have a ton of CTD clients as well. So stay tuned for, as Dave said, more information on it. And so we have come to the final question, and the final question is for Erik. You're unquestionably a visionary in the industry, Erik, and you have been for many years. You've seen trends, you've seen true opportunities to move the business along with Dave and others on the leadership team, but you've also seen fads, you know, that have kind of been here today, gone tomorrow type things. So as you look at our industry over the next 3 to 5 years, what do you see as maybe the top 2 or 3 things that are most important for travel managers and travel professionals? Maybe it's in procurement, or maybe there's consultants that are joining us today. You know, what do you see as like key elements in our industry over the next 3 to 5 years?
I think a big thing we're going to see is the data flow. I think data is going to flow more easily across the different, you know, platforms and things of that sort. I think virtual payments and payment processing and reconciliation will become more seamless. I mean, we're seeing that already. But you know, the point of sale systems and things like that, I think will finally evolve into something that's more meaningful, less of that, you know, sticking your credit card in a slot and stuff like that. I think we're going to see a lot more touchless services. You know, I mean, there's no reason to even check in at a hotel anymore. I mean, your phone is your room key, is your check-in and check-out. I mean, you should just be able to walk into a hotel. It should know that you're there and alert you if your room is ready and what your room number is. I mean, all that stuff, I think we're going to see, going back to that machine learning and AI stuff. I think these types of systems, and COVID has, I mean, the big thing about this is it's really forced us to advance us technologically. I mean, it's not like this stuff hasn't been there, just there hasn't been a motivation to implement new technology. And this has definitely forced a lot of technology evolution, which I think has been the upside of this. I've been traveling at least once a month or twice, more now. I'm traveling twice a month, and next month and maybe 3 times. We'll see. But travel is definitely increasing, as each month goes by, and I'm watching and seeing these technological advances already. So, and now that this infrastructure is in place, the ability for providers to continue to grow their technological stack, I think, is there. They've had time to implement new infrastructure. We've been doing the same thing. We've completely rewritten everything in the back so that we can really take advantage of all these advances in the future. So I think we're going to see that in the next 3 to 5 years. Travel managers as well, whether they're TMCs or whether they're at a corporation, they're going to find that the way that they purchase and consume travel, report on travel, and things like that are going to change and become easier, honestly. They're going to have more information at their fingertips, and if they let the data drive their decision. I think I'd like to see policy change some, and I think we may see that because they're going to have access to more data across more silos. They're going to be able to tune their travel policies a little bit better. At the end of the day, duty of care is first and foremost. I mean, that's their main objective, and they need to embrace that. And then implementing the right technology stack for managing travel and procurement. The right selection of tools, I think, is going to be critical for their program success. And obviously having someone lead that, whether they have someone internally doing it, a strong travel manager, or a good TMC partner that has a very consultative and data-driven approach. I think that's really what we're going to see the next few years is this information is going to be in real time, and you can actually do something about it, and you're going to get good recommendations, good suggestions. Predictive stuff is going to be great.
Exciting times, to say the least, over the next few years, and even beyond that. So, gentlemen, thank you. Really appreciate your thoughts and a little bit of fun that we had with the personal side of things. So let's open things up. Peter, our marketing colleague behind the scenes, maybe we can unmute the lines, take some questions either directly to Erik or Dave, or if there's questions that have come in. So let's open the lines.
Yeah, definitely. If anyone does have a question that they want to sort of verbally give to Dave or Erik, just go ahead and press that little hand raise button, and I'll go ahead and unmute you. But for now, we have 2 questions here. First one is from Mark Altman. What's going on with NDC? Is it real? And will GRASS be able to capture NDC transaction data?
Oh, that's a good one. Is it real? Yes, it's real. It's obviously it's just airline focused. It's one of those things that I think NDC has a lot more potential, but it's specifically airline focused. And at the end of the day, this is just a way for the airlines to generate more revenue or keep more revenue for themselves. And that therein lies the adoption issue. But as new technology stacks come to play in new types of travel agency offerings, I think NDC will become more relevant. Going back to my comment on the data flow, yes, we can capture data from NDC and populate that into reporting. But really, it's for selling, and it's really selling-driven technology. But it's providing better and a broader set of data and more capability. So there's some potential there, but you know, they're fighting against the GDSs, and the GDSs are there to serve a purpose, right? So. Dave?
I already said we'll see. I mean, I think those two words were enough. Everybody wants a cheaper GDS. That's what they want, right? So, you know, they're going to look for ways to save money and not, you know, give so much to the middleman. But the middleman's done it right for, I don't know, what, 70 years or however long it's been. So, you know, there's something to be said for that.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. Next question is from Deborah Cole. What do you believe is the best way to build sustainability into a travel program that will not only give the best available data insights, but will also ensure engagement from the road warriors that are not focused on the data because it doesn't touch them as much as the travel itself?
Ooh, that's a good one. There's a lot to pick apart there. Dave, you gotta start.
A start. It is a hard question because every single travel program is different. Every policy is different. Everybody does things their own way. So what's important to some people may not be important to others, right? And it's going to be all over the place. I think the most important thing is that you have to craft it specifically, and the technology can do this. You mold it specifically to those needs. And so you need to measure it so you can manage it, right? So you need good carbon data. So you got to get that from a good source. So you got to make sure your source is reliable, and you need buy-in, right? So you got to have a carrot a little bit to get people to buy in and really, you know, understand their impact and care, right? You know, when they've got a job to do and, you know, everything else in life and all that stuff. And so you kind of have to gamify it a little bit, I would say. And, you know, but it all starts with good data. So make sure that your source for where you're getting your CO2 data and information is robust and it's really solid and proven.
And it's a cultural thing. You know, the company needs to promote and encourage it and raise the visibility. The road warriors, the thing is there are road warriors that do care. And if they know prior to buying what the impact is, I think they'll make the right decisions. If you have the right employees, they will. They'll do what's best for the environment, what's best for the company. But unless they know up front when they're making that decision, or the decision's being made for them, or they're only being presented with options that are in line with the company's policies, then, you know, that's it. But I think you either dictate, you filter the content that they see and what they can actually purchase, or you at least give them, personally, I prefer to let people make good decisions themselves. That's going to be positive reinforcement for them because they can check the box and say, hey, I did something good for myself, for the world and for the company today, you know?
People support what they help to create.
Yeah.
Awesome. Deborah says, great answer, very helpful. Thank you. And thank you, Deborah and Mark, for two excellent questions. Let's maybe give it another 10 or 20 seconds or so, see if anyone has any additional questions.
Don't be shy.
Now's your chance.
I think we're all set here, Rick.
Okay, well, some really good questions, some great answers, gentlemen, and again, really appreciate your time with Erik being in Seattle and Dave being busy in Ohio, and we thank all of you for joining us. Take time out of your Wednesday afternoon for 45 minutes. Truly appreciate it. And we know it's a few weeks still till Christmas, and a few weeks more until New Year's. But on behalf of my colleagues, certainly myself, we wish you very sincere holiday wishes to you and your family, and very happy and safe New Year. Safe travels if you're traveling. And thank you very much. And look forward to more information coming soon on our webinar series next year, which will start in Q1. So again, thank you very much. Good afternoon.
Thank you.
Travel.
Happy holidays.
Bye.